Okay, so this is a story about KOSPI, and KOSPI is a Korean index which has around 200 companies in it. And KOSPI is currently being carried by SK Hynix and Samsung by the retail investors called ants. So the South Korean retail investors are generally called ants. And South Korea, we generally remember South Korea for certain things like you have K-pop idols, you have Squid Game, and also the weird food these guys eat. But do you know what else is getting interesting in South Korea? So South Korea as an economy is currently standing on two towers, and one tower is Samsung and the other tower is SK Hynix. And if things go bad, it's a high chance that we'll see the entire economy collapse. So there are mainly 4 points which I have listed here. One is KOSPI acting in a weird way, and the K-shaped economy in Korea, and the insane retail investor sentiment and the housing bubble which South Korea is facing. So the first one is KOSPI going haywire. So if you see this is KOSPI index over 5-year period, and if I zoom in, on 14th June 2021 it was 3,358, and if I again zoom out on 5th August 25, it was again around 3,358. So over a period of almost 4 years, it had a stagnant growth. But after that, it has entered a parabolic move, which is somewhat similar to a typical hockey stick. So the price or the index has gone from 3,358 and it has almost reached 9,000, which is a very new high for Korean stock exchange. And we have KOSPI reaching highs of 8,801. But all of this comes with significant issues. So if you see the Google search trends regarding KOSPI and SK Hynix over a 90-day period, you can see that both are in perfect correlation. This is because the entire rally is being driven by two companies, Samsung and SK Hynix. So KOSPI has a significant weightage which is exposed to the semiconductor industry, and Samsung and SK Hynix together hold around 50% of the index. If you step out a bit and if you see what is South Korean economy performing, you can see that the semiconductor production index has actually doubled, whereas the other economy, which is non-semiconductor production index, that has been stagnant over a period of 3 years from 2023 to 2025. So the entire uptick which is being recorded in the economy is purely because of semiconductors. In 2025, South Korea's real GDP growth was 1%, and in 2026, they had forecasted it to be at 2.6%. This is as per OECD. But in the first quarter of 2026, South Korea has already achieved 1.7% of GDP growth, and it is possible that 2026, economically developed country will be reaching growth rate of 7%, which is generally seen in developing economies. All of this is resulting in a K-shaped economy in Korea. So we will cover this later on, that the Korean chip companies are paying out bonuses which are breaking the economy into a further K-shaped bonus. So if you don't know what is K-shaped economy is a portion where one part of the demographics, the upper K-shaped, is doing exceptionally well, whereas the other part is suffering and struggling to make ends meet. So there's a quote in the Bloomberg article where a guy called Helen Han is saying there's definitely a bit of relative deprivation here. And he's a computer science major who now works at a law firm. He thinks that he should have at least tried to got a foot in the door in semiconductors, but back when he was hunting for job about 15 years back, SK Hynix really wasn't that popular. So what actually changed in 15 years? Now SK Hynix has been handing out $1 million bonuses, whereas chip giants soaring payouts to staff fans fear of widening inequality. SK Hynix is also reportedly giving out 430,000 of bonuses to each employee this time, and this is creating a new elite in South Korea. So you have a very few number of people in the country getting a very huge bonus, and this is again splitting the economy in people who don't have things and people who have a lot of things. So the income inequality is again on the rise, and this is further branching out into a stronger K-shaped economy. The Korean tech workers, and what are they doing with the money? They are splashing cash on luxury brands, and it is seen that the luxury goods sales rocket nearly 150% in Gyeonggi province because of the semiconductor belt. The luxury jewelry sales are rising by 146.3% in one local department store. And the prestigious watches and accessory brands are also doing very well. This is what we have generally seen with people who are getting fresh money, that they won't invest or they won't make a proper use of the money, and they will be just YOLOing this money away. And if we come back to the insane retail investors, there is a greed and fear which is underway in the KOSPI 8000, because Korea has an investor group which represents 50% of the entire population, and they are in a dilemma, which is greed versus fear. And they have, as I said, that more than half of the Korean population reportedly has a stock brokerage account, which is the highest level ever. So you have half of your economy which has an exposure to stocks, and the market is in a hockey stick move, or it's going parabolic. And Korean retail investors are rushing into the bull markets via ETFs and not through single stocks, which is also having a significant risk exposure. So the 2x SK Hynix ETF is being used so much that it is even higher than the 2x Tesla craze back in 2025. And the main problem is that Korea's retail investors are using a lot of margin trades for this. And as a result, the margin loans have hit record 38 trillion won as KOSPI nears 9,000. The problem is that the leverage bets which Korean investors are taking up are at an all-time high. And the problem is, if there is even a slight downturn in the market, the margin calls will be so devastating that the investors will be suffering. And finally, we have the Korean housing bubble. So Bloomberg reported in 2025 that there are two bubbles which are threatening Korea's recovery, and also the president Lee Jae-myung had declared that the housing market is a ticking bomb. Now the problem with Korea is that the Seoul, the capital of South Korea, has a white-hot property market which is the fountainhead of all problems, and this is the South Korean president himself saying it. This is the entire map of South Korea, and half of the population is being concentrated in Seoul. So you have this part which is 50% of your population, and the other 50% is concentrated in such a small place. That is again driving property prices in Seoul very high. And Korea's household debt to GDP ratio may hit 80% this year because of chip boom. Again, the Economist reports that property is a favored investment in Korean households, and it shows that the landlords provide 86% of the private rental market in Seoul. And the rental system in South Korea is kind of unique because they only work on deposits. So it is not something where you're paying monthly, but you give a single deposit, which is sometimes around $4 lakh. And this deposit is being invested by the landlord in the markets or some other investment vehicle so that they can earn returns. And this rent system is again a systemic problem which is inflating the housing bubble. Another interesting case is related to SK Hynix, where they declared a new facility investment for Yongin semiconductor cluster, and because of this, the same area is seeing housing prices rise 2.7 times faster than Seoul. So you have a particular investment happening in a certain region, and then the housing prices just skyrocket. This will push people away from affordability, and younger demographics will not be able to afford houses. And again, the same people, once you don't have a house, you will have to delay your decisions regarding family planning. So you don't have a house, you cannot set up a family, so you don't have kids. You don't have kids and your population is declining, and it's an inverted pyramid. So what happens is the AI boom is bringing lots of cash to the two companies, which is SK Hynix and Samsung. They are paying out bonuses to their workers, and this is increasing the cash in the economy for the same set of goods. And this finally leads to a higher inflation. Now the problem is that if you increase the interest rates to counter this inflation, the other economy, which is non-semiconductor economy, is going to take a hit because they have been stagnant since 3 years. So you cannot increase the interest rates without harming them. So the problem is, if you increase interest rates, the non-AI economy will suffer. But if you maintain the rates, the AI economy will add up to the inflation. So that's the case where the South Korean economy is standing on two towers, Samsung and SK Hynix, and we hope that the towers remain strong and the economy sustains and does not wipe out people's earnings.